right, so this afternoon, I mean, you know, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different topics. We are running about 20 minutes behind, but we can extend into the evening. We've got a little bit of extra wiggle room there, so that shouldn't be a problem. And the first thing we're going to do is going to talk about operations and flashpoints. Before we do anything else, I just want to introduce everybody that we have up here on stage who's going to talk to you this afternoon. So, who do we have today? We have the invisible James Olin, who is apparently not here right now. Swear he was here a minute ago, and I know he's coming back. But James Olin's going to be here for the duration. Daniel Eriksson, who recently has changed his title, is now lead game designer. Gabe Amatangelo, who just got off a plane from Australia, so therefore he's very, very tired, but he's here as our lead endgame designer. Georg Zola, who I'm sure you've seen from a million forum posts, our lead combat designer. Damien Schubert, who is our lead systems designer. And last but not least, Emmanuel Lucinci, who is our technical design director. Does that sound about right? Something on those lines. And they're going to be here all afternoon. They'll be alternating on their presentations and taking your questions and discussing things with you. Okay. Do we have any urgent burning questions before we start? Nope. All right. Well, we're going to kick things off with a discussion of operations and flashpoints, and Gabe is going to do this for you. A note to anyone who's watching on the live stream, we have a bit of a technical issue which we're going to resolve, but you are going to see the slides on the screen, filmed off the screen. So apologies for that, but we're going to get that sorted as soon as we can, but that'll probably just be for the duration of Gabe's first presentation. All right, over to you.
Thank you. Hello. Quick show of hands, I'm curious. How many Republic guilds do we have here? Woo! Yeah! All right, right on. And Empire guilds? Shoot, guys, I think we have an imbalance. We need to figure out. We need some volunteers to move over. That's how we'll handle that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so yeah, operations and flashpoints going on right now. And you'll have to bear with me, like Steven said, just got off a plane not too long ago, and just got briefed on this presentation now, so I'm going to kind of wing it. Current state of operations. 38% of level 50 players have played an operation, so a good amount of players up there, even without a sort of group finder system or managing to get together for at least the 8-player mode. Now, of course, we know there are bugs, particularly in Eternity Vault, our first one. More frustrating than other areas due to time invested, level and reward, and repeatable content. So yeah, we're fully aware, obviously, it takes a lot of effort to get in there, and then when bugs happen, it is an issue, so it's a high priority for us to deal with that stuff. A big part of it is getting more of the sort of guild testing and feedback, which in Game Update 1.1 with Karaga's Palace we did. And we were excited about that, and we're going to be making more efforts for that in 1.2 because that helps a lot. So as those of you who played Karaga's Palace, you saw that was a bit smoother. Obviously, there were some issues, but it was a dramatic improvement over the Eternity Vault ones. Let's see, what do we have next here? Looting system in normal difficulty needs improvement. We know it is a frustrating thing, the Destin loot system. Unfortunately, we only got sort of like part of what we wanted in there. Another aspect to it, we wanted to make it good for pugs, pug friendly, so you didn't have to yield to sort of the master looter and his demands or whatever. But obviously sometimes with Destin loot you get stuff that you already had. We wanted it to be smarter, it didn't turn out that way, so we're going to be deviating from it a bit in the next update. We're going to be switching it to just normal loot inside of the story mode or the normal mode of operations. So players can do those things. Another aspect we were considering with it is making it that you can receive the Destin loot, but you're able to trade it for a couple hours. That's another bit of functionality we want to get in there. But in the meantime, until we get to that point, we're going to be switching it to the regular type of loot mode. Existing operations are relatively easy. I love this bullet point, Stephen, thank you. So if you haven't beaten the existing operations, well then, I don't know what to tell you guys. So yeah, I mean, the nightmare mode and the hard mode, we definitely wanted it to be more challenging than it ended up being. Part of contributing to it is more time, sort of soak time with guild testing and tuning and that kind of things. Also, a number of little bugs contributing, like we have armor debuffs from players stacking on monsters more than we want to. A number of things like that we're addressing that actually had the difficulty lower than it was intended to. We are addressing this stuff in the future, and I don't want to get ahead of myself for the next slide, but let's see here. Hard and nightmare modes give same loot. Yeah, so we know that's, right now the nightmare mode is, achievements. It gives a little bit extra loot, but it's not a completely different type of loot. And some of the improvements in Update 1.2. But first, we'll touch on the Operations Explosive Conflict. Game Update 1.2, we'll be having a new operation, and this is going to be harder than the current operations. It's going to require a whole new level of coordination. So again, the challenge we're focusing on is not necessarily, hey, more gear, more stats, that kind of thing, though that will happen naturally as we're tiering up these raids. Operations, excuse me. Is coordination between players. That's the focus, like the coordination between the group and execution. That is the focus. Now, our first two operations, Karagas Palace and Eternity Vault, sort of our tier 1. Denova, Explosive Conflict, which takes place on Denova, is going to be the sort of first of our tier 2. And it is going to be on top of that difficulty. It's going to be that progression, having to gear up through these to get to that for the hard and nightmare modes of it. Nightmare mode to be a more serious challenge. Let's see, sorry. Needs serious testing and balancing. It's not going to launch in 1.2 because we're going to focus and ensure that the nightmare mode is a nightmare as far as difficulty, but enjoyable still. So at the same time, I'm not going to give spoilers per se, but the sort of main galactic storyline continues inside of the operations. We want to ensure that all the more casual players have an opportunity to experience that story. So we're changing sort of normal mode to story difficulty mode to be appropriately labeled. Now, it is, I touched on that. Now it says without having to be gear up, it's not going to be as steep as a gear up. It's going to be a little bit more than the normal mode of the first tier, but it's not going to be, let's say if you had sort of, your X and Y axis and the gearing difficulty being at like 60 degrees for hard mode, this will be more of like a 30, 20 degrees. So a little bit more gear, but not quite as long of an investment to go from one to the next. What do we have next? Orange Gear viability and endgame. I think Emmanuel put a blog up about this. We talked about it in a few different interviews. At 1.2, you're going to be able to extract all of your mods, including the sort of base mod, and with that is going to come the set bonus. So you'll be able to put it in any other kind of gear that you want and have the appearance that you want. So you can all live your Star Wars fantasy to the fullest, looking like whatever it is you wish. A Jedi as a stormtrooper or Princess Leia as the case may be. Let's see, where would you want in operations? Yes, predestined loot, normal mode, I touched on that, going away. Again, like I said, I just got briefed on this, so I got ahead of some of it. You'll have to forgive me. Nightmare mode, only way to, so nightmare mode's going to have, when we release it after 1.2, shortly after 1.2, it's going to be it's going to be different gear. It's going to be different loot than what is in hard mode. Right on. So, as I was saying, bug fixing, it's our highest priority for operations. The longer period for testing, major feedback. The guild testing, again, in 1.1, we had some guild testing. We're going to be ramping up it in 1.2. Extremely helpful, extremely useful. We very much wanted to do that, and we're happy to start getting that online. Karagas Palace had guild testing, so yeah, I touched on that. 1.1. There we have it. Character copies to PTS, we're working on that. We're going to be sort of manually putting some over, but we're working on making it so we can have more and more people on the public test server. More operations, every major update, like we're saying, we're going to be having more operation content, more Flashpoint content, more challenging and more rewards. The focus, again, on execution with the challenging, some of the gearing up in it, but more of the execution and coordination. So fighting the boss, not the game. More info on screen. We like having the sort of, as opposed to monitoring debuffs and things like that, like seeing the actual in-game visceral cues of what's going on. This has been the direction and the focus of our operations and our Flashpoints. We didn't hit the nail with all of them, but some of them, and we're going to continue focusing on gearing towards that or having that happen on all of the future ones. So yeah, less info on buffs. Flashpoints, so on to Flashpoints. Now, are we breaking for questions on operations first, or are we going straight to Flashpoints? Where's straight to Flashpoints? Sorry. Okay, Flashpoints. Current state of Flashpoints. Flashpoints are enjoyable, because that's subjective. That's excellent bullet points. This is good stuff. They're fun. Flashpoints are enjoyable. You enjoy them. Better endgame progression via Flashpoints. Just in general, the sort of when you hit 50 and the ramping up to hard mode, normal mode, operations, etc. We want to smooth that curve out. We've got some things introduced in 1.2 to help with that. Difficult to find a group. We do know that is an issue with Flashpoints. We'll be addressing that in the future. And that's in a later slide, so I guess I'll get to how we're addressing that stuff. Those are the current state of stuff. In 1.2, we have Lost Island, new Flashpoint. It finishes the Kaon storyline with the Taion hegemony and the Rakghoul outbreak. The future of Flashpoints. More Flashpoints coming. Again, major updates. We'll keep updating them. Group Finder. So that's a major thing. We're going to be introducing that in Game Update 1.3. Now it's called Group Finder, not necessarily Flashpoint or Operation, because it's going to be sort of all-purpose. Also for missions, story missions of that nature. Now it's going to be single server only, focusing. Oh, right on. So I mean, community is obviously very important. We don't want to have random pug dude who just, goes AFK and doesn't care about his reputation. And I'm trying to watch my language here, but you know what I'm saying. Those guys. We can avoid that when, more people know each other. And discussion topics, operations, current difficult. Is it too easy? Is it too hard? I guess we already led that answer with one of the bullet points, but we can discuss that some more. New story difficulty, allowing everyone to play. Love to hear your guys' feedback, questions about that. How difficult should it be to gear up an end game? People are in two different camps with that kind of thing, so that'd be interesting points to. Oops, I clicked too fast. There we go. All right. So yeah, I guess at this point we open it up for questions. Steven, you're running around? All right. Now, of course, these are the topics, but it's not limited to this. I mean, ask away, whatever.
Yeah, so I won't be running around because, I have subordinates to do that. So Chris on this side, Judith on the other side will be moving around with mics. So just stick your hand in the air. I'm sure many of you have many questions. Just to remind you of those ground rules, please, no epic speeches. But anything you have to ask Gabe and the team about operations and Flashpoints, stick your hand up.
On operations, we're wondering, is there the ability to get trash mobs to drop loot to help cash to help pay for repairs? And then on Flashpoints, reverse bolter for high levels so that they can go help lower levels, but still get some kind of reward, maybe legacy, experience, or social points.
So as far as the more trash mobs dropping cash, actually, Georg, you want to answer that one? He's dealing with the economy stuff right now.
I can, yes. We're looking at repair costs. We know it's definitely an issue for the community. I'll show some graphs later in regards to how the cash is distributed between players. At the current time, meaning for 1.2, we don't anticipate changing the repair costs. There will be tweaks to the economy in general to distribute the money a bit more fairly. The reason is that we need to bring additional sinks in place in order to make sure that we don't have runaway inflation. We do, however, know that the economy is a pain point. Whether or not Flashpoint drops will be the right way to go about that, given how you can start a Flashpoint and then maybe clear out just the loot at the start and maybe start it again. Probably not so much, but we will be doing something about the repair costs to bring everyone up a bit more into a realm where they feel they have cash. Not more than God, but cash.
And so as far as the kind of reverse the mentoring system you're asking about, that is something that we're all very much want to do, and we're excited about it. We've been discussing it. We don't have a sort of ETA on it at the moment, but a reverse bolstering is in discussion.
Along with the new tier of raid content, will we see separate lockouts? So like Nightmare and Hard Mode will be on separate lockouts?
Nightmare and Hard Mode is going to be on the same lockout.
Okay.
So, no. Because again, and the reason, just to touch on in case I talked about this in past interviews, but the story mode and Nightmare and Hard Mode are on different lockouts, is because the Nightmare and Hard Mode we see as sort of the guild progression one. The story mode is the casual pickups, and we didn't want to stop people from being able to go kind of outside of their groups and socialize in the casual type mode. Well, I'm hearing feedback there. That was weird. Yeah, so next question.
Yeah, so you touched on loot as being an incentivized version of Nightmare being greater than Hard Mode. Is there any other incentives that you're putting in there in terms of, not lockouts, but obviously is there going to be a differentiating point between 16-man and 8-man when it comes to the two raid settings?
So 16-man and 8-man, we want them to be sort of a relative difficulty. Now, obviously, inherently, there's more difficulty in organizing 16 people. So on the stat side of the NPCs, we kind of lower some of the stats to compensate for that difficulty difference of coordinating and getting everyone to execute as they need to. And the target is to hit it at the same difficulty level. There are higher like mount drop rate chances, things of that nature. There are a little bit more loot in the 16-man mode, but it's the same type of loot. Just more, and there's obviously more of it, but in addition, the sort of bonus loots like recipes, mounts, things of that nature, a little bit of a bonus with that. And was there a second part to the question?
Focus differentiation between the two of them, or are you keeping it the same?
In the immediate future, we're keeping it the same, but again, we're constantly looking at the feedback in the community and seeing sort of what everyone is keen on. But right now, it is focused towards the same kind of content.
Wondering if there are any plans currently to introduce time-stamped achievements for boss kills or something similar to that to help validate when an individual boss is killed to help foster the competition in the raiding community?
Yeah. Now we all very much want to do that. I can even hand it over to Damien. He wants to talk about that a little bit with the achievement type system stuff. But yeah, we do. That is something we very much want to do.
Yeah, I love achievements. It breaks my heart we didn't get them in. We want to get them in and do them right. And part of the reason why is when you look at the Bartles 4, the kind of people who play any kind of massive multiplayer content, for the killers, that's really all about competition. They're motivated by being the first kill on a SIR, and that being part of that great race is an incredible feeling. I know when I played that other game, that will not be named, we actually managed to beat a boss by beat another guild by 5 minutes, and that was just an incredible feeling. And we really like for that to exist in our game and to be able to be validated so that people knew that the other guys were telling the truth and whatnot. But we have long-term plans. We have nothing that is on the immediate horizon, but I'm passionate about it.
And to add to that, obviously when we come out with a new MMO, a new engine, stuff like that, we're working through some of the bugs and whatnot. Once it's sort of fine-tuned and we get the better guild testing and we get it to the sort of difficulty level we want, that's also a good opportunity to then introduce that system as opposed to dealing with it, having it earlier and some people cheating to get ahead and it not being legitimate and dealing with those types of things. So yeah, something in the future for sure.
I was just wondering, there's not a huge difference between like Kalumi and Rakata gear, so there's not a huge incentive to go into hard modes and get better gear. So I was wondering if there was going to be a bigger gear disparity in the new raid content in terms of item level.
Sure. Well, we can have the items team people talk about it a little bit, but there will be more of a disparity. We didn't want to, so our early target was to not inflate the gear too much. We did end up inflating it more than we actually wanted to. And so the difference between those two at the last level, like the Columai, or rather the Teenies to the Columai has a big jump. And then after that, it's kind of almost a prestigious type jump because we didn't have the gating of the next content yet. But if one of you guys want to add to that at all as far as the gear progression.
So we have one new tier for PvP and PvE coming. It will have a bit more, I would say, sensical stats, like not so much accuracy if you care about these kind of things. Although I do have to say accuracy is useful when you're going after tanks. The other part of that is we're opening augments across all gear pieces that currently support them, which means there's a completely additional set of gear that you can pursue now and that you can use to customize your character. On top of that, you've seen probably the PTS notes for 1.15. We're introducing the lightsaber crystals with expertise on it. There's limited PvP crafting. We can go into that later. In general, there's more disparity between PvP and PvE in terms of the gear. It will not be as easy to cross over. It's still possible, but you definitely can't go, let's say, to your Battle Master gear and then jump over into the highest level of operations, these kind of things.
So my current question is, what is the current stance on operations? I know there's mixed feelings in the community about this, but as a raid leader myself, I at times find myself a little bit frustrated not knowing how my raid is doing as far as metrics. So threat meters, combat logs, damage meters, things like that. What is the current stance of your team on eventually working those into the game?
The stance is that we want to have it. We want to have, instead of a reliance on those things, we want a reliance on the in-game visual cues. But that's not to say we don't want to have them for those players who do want them. And obviously things like seeing who is not carrying their weight as far as DPS goes and damage, those things are very useful when running guilds, especially if you're trying to hit those the progression quickly. So the stance is that we want to have them. We want to have them in, and they're just not in Game Update 1.2.
Well, almost. So we actually do have something for you because we do realize it's actually really important, especially if you're a raid leader, operations leader. I suggest everyone drink whenever we do this. It will be much more fun this way. So we do realize that it's useful not only to identify what are we doing wrong. There's enrage timers. It's problematic to understand what exactly you're doing wrong. So what we, on the other hand, don't want to do is we want you to have control over what other people see about your character. We didn't want to go out and let other people just go out and judge you, so we kind of went with the middle ground. As with Game Update 1.2, you will be able to enable a very simple output into the chat window, which tells you what did just defeat me, or it will also print out when you defeated someone and which attack triggered that. Additionally, we have a very, very detailed parsable combat log that you can able to be written to disk. It will show everything incoming and outgoing from your character. Someone enterprising like a guild would have no problem probably correlating that into the big picture, but we're not allowing you to just flag a button and then see how is everyone else doing in the group at this point. So yes, you will have a parsable log. It will have threat in there, any kind of effect applied to your character, removed from your character, detailed damage numbers, damage type, critical, all that kind of stuff. And you can do whatever you want with that. But it will be out of game. So.
Hi. So speaking on gear at Endgame, what I'm really wondering is craftable gear going to be anywhere comparable, or is PvP and operations always going to beat that out? Are we going to be able to start crafting something that would be, compete with it?
The answer is yes, but I would defer that to the economy panel later.
Fair enough. Thanks.
You guys have a really interesting mechanic in space combat, and I was wondering if you guys were ever planning on applying that to flashpoints or operations.
James, you want to answer that?
Well, obviously, space is a hot topic. It's a big part of Star Wars, and we got some space into the release game. I've hinted at, so I'll hint at it again, we have a secret project on space in the works right now, but that's all I can say.
Hi, yes, Discomancer with Aerodani Lighthorse on the Born-Scar server. I had a question. It's regarding the rage mechanics. Is that something that you're going to see across the board? Because what we've experienced is it sort of limits the sort of standard build you can take. It's 2 healers, 1 tank, 5 DPS seems to be really the only model you can go in with and have guaranteed success. Is there anything that can be done to provide a little bit more dynamic team building for the players?
So the intention going in was that you had 2 tanks like in the 8-man mode. Some of that fell through because of a variety of reasons. Sometimes it came to bugs, sometimes it came to specific class abilities, being able to reduce the need for it. In 1.2, we're a bit more focused and polished with that. In 1.2, you're going to need there's going to be a lot more coordination in tank trading. So 2 tanks, I'd be surprised if people get away with not having 2 tanks in some of these fights.
But that being said, one of the things is that one of the things we didn't want is the classic, hey, for this boss you need 1 tank, for this boss you need 4 tanks, and for this boss, and so you have this whole stable of people sitting outside waiting to come in for one fight. That's no fun either. We kind of want you to be able to build a group and be able to run the whole raid with that group, knowing that you can take it on.
Drink.
So with flashpoints and specifically operations later on, have you ever considered looking into kind of the Lucas style of an ending where you have 2 guys run off and fight a Sith Lord, 2 guys go get in their starship, and then the rest of the guys are handling a undercover operation dealing with because I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
So
yes, yeah. Now, we didn't, the ancient pylons was sort of, we were touching on that, splitting the group up. We didn't get as far into that concept as we wanted to by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that I and several other members of the team are very excited about exploring in future operations.
I can actually give you a little more of an answer on that. For the longest time on the project, the Return of the Jedi scenario of Endor, space battle, and Darth Vader versus Luke was the dream for our operation. So it is definitely something that we want to do in the future.
So there's a lot of discussion what is harder, 8-man or 16-man. So is there any mode that is intended to be harder, or you want it to be balanced?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, we want it to be balanced. We do know that in Eternity Vault there was various issues that came up that ended up with 16-man being more difficult. In Karaga's Palace, I think we got it closer to it. The idea is to keep the difficulty level between the two as close as possible. And like I was talking about earlier, the coordination within 16-man in and of itself inherently is more difficult if you have to have them executing, all the different players executing certain things at certain times. And so we leaned, instead of like 2 times the health, you know, it's 1.8 times the health in 16-man mode, that kind of thing to compensate. And so our target is to make them even difficulty. We do know that Eternity Vault, that was not the case in 1.2 update. In some of the weekly patches and stuff, we've been correcting and fixing some of those things. In the 1.2 update, more so.
Okay, we have about 15,000 people watching us on the live stream. No pressure. So I'm just going to take one more question from here in the audience, then we're going to go to a few of the questions from the guys who've been writing in. So I'm going to go to this gentleman right here at the front. Stand up for me.
Absolutely. So as an ops leader, are we going to get some more tools for management of parties, reshifting people around without having to kick them, re-invite them, do different things to adjust and optimize?
You're talking about the raid management or the operation management windows? So we haven't had the UI panel yet, have we?
No.
No, okay. Well, in the UI panel, there's more talk about that, but yes, we do want to have more management options for the ops group.
Okay, we're going to take a couple of questions from the live stream here. Eric Musco has been manning our Cover It live stream, so he's going to read out who asked us the question and what the question is.
All right, so our first question comes from, I'm going to say Sweeney, and I apologize to someone watching the live stream if I'm mispronouncing your name. Will you be implementing a ready check system for flashpoints and operations?
We don't have a ready check?
We don't.
I will go back to the office and get that on the list. I apologize.
Do we have an R&D role?
Slash roll.
Slash roll?
I think it's coming in 1.15. I think it's coming in the next patch. So.
Yes, we know that there are some staples missing, and we're anxious to get them in as well.
All right, unfortunately I can't find this question, but I know it was in here, and the user's name was Drakus, so I apologize that I'm not posting it in the stream. Their question was, are we going to implement hard modes for flashpoints that currently do not have them?
Can I answer that? Yes. Eventually, we will be. Can't say when exactly.
All right, next question. This comes from Gold Lantern. He said he saw during the presentation that you can reverse engineer operations gear. Does that mean that you can get schematics from ops gear drops?
Yes. Do you want to be a little bit more specific on what schematics you get so people do not panic later? All right.
All right, should we do one more from here? All right, so our last question from the live stream then comes from Astarius. A question about flashpoints. Is there going to be another difficulty added to flashpoints so that they have another difficulty level similar to operations?
Not in the near future. We're going to keep adding new flashpoints, and the difficulty will be ramping up in them. Like in the new, the second Kaon flashpoint is going to be more difficult than the previous flashpoints.
Okay, we're going to take one more question from the floor here, so let's make it a good one. I'm going to go over to the right-hand side. Can you stand up?
Hi there. Johnny from Pax Imperius. One question we had was, are you going to look to do any more dynamic style operations? So not necessarily dungeon operations, but more open world specific operations?
You mean the setting, or you mean just outside of this sort of instance? Yeah, we have the new open world operation ops group bosses. Like, yes, in Game Update 1.2, we're releasing a new one of those, and we're going to continue to introduce content of the like.
Okay. That'll about wrap it up right now for operations and flashpoints. Trying to get us a little bit back on schedule. Thank you for Gabe. Gabe is going to stick around to talk about player versus player, which is going to come up in a minute. We're actually just going to take a break for about 3-4 minutes. If anyone here needs to go use the restroom, then feel free to go do it right now, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.